Kingdoms of the Underground. Narrated by Michaela Dauriel. Music and sound by Dorien May. Episode 1: Crystal City. Underground space. We know it as dark, quiet, and relatively empty. But is it really so? Many legends and myths around the world talk about the mysterious inhabitants of the underground, about their vast dwellings and precious treasures. But what is even more amazing is that some of these stories are shared by real people who claim them to be their true and authentic experience. Our talk will center around these stories. We will share with you the secrets of the underground, which give rise to feelings of wonder in some people. In others, they evoke anxiety. And in others, this kind of strange feeling of home. Welcome to the first episode of Kingdoms of the Underground. At the beginning of today's episode, we will briefly dive into the world of ancient legends and continue with a very unusual story from the present. Who are the underground beings, and where is the border between myth and reality? As we explore the underground more, we will see that the reports about it are very diverse. The underground can have many forms and also many kinds of inhabitants. Usually, we could have heard about different types of dwarves, goblins, and dragons. However, today we will be exploring an underground beings that have a form that may be surprising. In myths, legends, and individual experiences, these beings are described as beautiful and fair-haired people who are outstanding in their wisdom, nobility, elegance, and are much taller than we are. Their realm is not dark caves and gloomy chambers, but shining crystal cities and society as advanced as we can only dream of in our current state of development. Who are they, and how did they get underground? Maybe one of the most famous legends of old Ireland will make it clear for us. In legends of ancient Ireland, there is a story about the mysterious people of goddess Danu, which are originally called Tuatha de Danann, or more correctly, Tuatha de Danann. Goddess Danu is the goddess of the earth, and her people were described as beautiful, fair-haired noble beings with remarkable magical abilities. They were called the Shining Ones. According to some sources, it was them who brought the Druidic arts to Ireland. In ancient Celtic times, Druids were known as priests, healers, and teachers. There are many opinions about the origins of Tuatha de Danann. Some authors place them in the area of Caucasus and the Black Sea, especially in Armenia. From there, they moved towards the west, when they created the Danube culture. the name Danube directly referring to their goddess Danu. One of their branches later traveled to Ireland. Others claim that they sailed directly from Atlantis. In any case, it is the second half of their story that is interesting to us today. After their arrival to Ireland, they burned all their ships so that they could never return. They took part in territorial battles with local tribes, and their stories are told in Irish legends. Many gods from the original Irish pantheon were among them. Although they overpowered several local tribes, they lost one of their battles afterwards, and that was the moment that marked the end of their time on the surface of the earth. After this loss, they didn't die, but according to the legends, they went underground. From that moment on, they are referred to as She, natural beings that dwell inside of Irish hills and mounds. They moved to Agartha, which is a general title for the underground kingdoms of various kinds of beings. These beings of Agartha are said not only to have different forms, but also to live at different levels of density. Tuatha Dé Danann needed to lower their density for this transition, or, in other words, to raise their vibration. We will get to this topic in more detail in the next episode of this series. The Tuatha Dé Danann are one of several civilizations that are said to have gone underground after a certain strong evolutionary breaking point in their history. In their case, it was a loss in battle. In case of Roman Dacians, it was an escape from Romans. And the story of the inhabitants of Telos, which will be our main topic today, was also similar. The inhabitants of the underground city of Telos are originally known to belong to the civilization of Lemuria, and before its downfall, they moved underground in various areas. Some settled on the American continent and others in West Africa and Western Europe. Californian massive Mount Shasta is known for the fact that the city of Telos is located deep below its surface. There lies the vast crystal city of these advanced beings who are described as tall, blonde-haired humans with radiant skin and highly developed psychic abilities. Now let's share a story of a man who claims to have met them in person. One day, a charismatic gentleman called Lowell Johnson decided to go hiking on Mount Shasta and had no idea what adventure was waiting for him there. It was July 2020, and Lowell was originally planning to go on a trip somewhere completely different. However, circumstances led him to the mountains of Mount Shasta, and since he heard people talking about having powerful spiritual experiences and feeling a special energy there, he decided to have a look. Originally, he only wanted to stay there for a week, but when the time came to leave, he was overcome by a strange feeling that he should stay longer. He went hiking every day and felt unusually invigorated. The energy there was palpable. He began to realize that there really might be something unusual and amazing about this place. About 3 weeks later, while at one of the lookouts, he suddenly noticed a strange shadow on the mountains that he was observing. It was as if there was an entrance to a cave. The next day, he went to have a closer look at his place. It was off the tourist trail, but a certain area called him so strongly that he followed anyway. Gradually, he began to connect to the power of the space in which he found himself and clearly felt the direction that he had to follow. He found a spot near a group of rocks from where he could enjoy the scenery without being seen from the parking lot. He made himself comfortable with a rock wall behind his back and put his headphones with music on. Suddenly, the music stopped playing, and when he pulled out his cell phone, it was dead. When he tried to turn it back on, he got this strange feeling like a vast shadow was rising behind him and covering him from above. At that moment, he felt flow of a cold breeze on his back. He slowly turned around and realized that where the rock wall had been before, there was now an opening. The tunnel that stretched behind the opening continued far into the depths of the mountain. There was a slight rising at the beginning, and then it went deep down. When he looked inside, he saw that about 9 meters away from him, on the left side of the tunnel, someone was standing. Suddenly, he heard a voice asking him, "Do you wish to see Telos?" Lowell, half anxious and half excited, answered, "Yes." He slowly walked towards the person in the underground. They had first appeared to be of a similar height, but as he descended down the lava tunnel, he saw that he was wrong. This person was 2.5 meters tall. He was male and wore a white robe with colorful elements on his chest. Lowell compares them to some kind of ribbons that may have reflected his social status. He had long blonde hair and perfectly symmetrical face that showed no signs of aging. The man said he could call him Alex. Lowell replied that it would be easy because that was his son's name, with whom, by the way, he hiked the mountains the first week there. The man replied that they knew about his son Alex and asked him to follow. They were descending down the lava tunnel, deeper and deeper into the underground, towards some kind of a light source. At one point, when Lowell turned around to look behind himself, he realized that the light from the outside world was no longer there. The opening seemed to be closed. Gradually, they passed into a wide lighted space from which 5 other tunnels led in different directions. Suddenly, a platform appeared beside them, approximately 2 meters in size. On top of it, there were 2 bucket seats. It was a transporting vehicle made of an unknown material. It was not stone, metal, nor wood. Once he and Alex settled down, the platform rose and they headed into the middle tunnel. The strange thing was that there was no sense of movement at all. The tunnel had walls embedded with beautiful crystals that reflected light, making one feel as if they were passing through a magical kaleidoscope. It was an amazing experience And it got even more mind-blowing when the tunnel opened out into a massive cavity with a dazzling crystal city of Telos spread out before them. The city of Telos was located in a huge round cavity, and in its center stood a great white pyramid. On top of it was a capstone of white color, and when the platform they were on rose higher, they had the most wonderful view of the city. Everything was made from crystal, buildings of various shapes and heights. To the right, there was a round building that Lowell immediately noticed, and it later played an important role in his experience. While watching this amazing view, his guide Alex told him some basic information about the city of Telos. Their society is a monarchy, ruled by king and queen. But most practical matters are decided by the so-called Council of 13. It is headed by a high priest named Adama, and the council consists of 6 female and 6 male members, who are selected based on their level of spiritual development. In this society, this quality is of great importance, and the goal is to support its growth within every inhabitant. As they hovered down, closer to the surface, Lowell began to notice details. He saw the inhabitants of the city, who were very Nordic in their appearance, with blonde hair and light eyes. Some of them used similar vehicles as them. He managed to make an eye contact with a few Telosians, and he had a strange feeling like they knew each other, as if at that moment they knew everything about him, and he about them. The dazzling tour of the Crystal City continued, and Alex explained that Telos had 5 levels. The whole city was illuminated as by daylight, the source of which, however, could not be seen and cast no shadows. They made their way to the 3rd level of Telos. This space was estimated to be 7 acres in size and consisted of hydroponic gardens in which food was grown for the entire population of the city. Lowell describes them as a magnificent piece of technology that uses no soil, only crystals and water, which speed up the production cycle. Food is provided for 1.2 million people living in this area. The original number, when they settled here, 30,000 years ago is estimated at 25 to 26,000. How is it possible that these gardens can feed such a large population? Lowell explains this phenomenon in terms of a different level of vibration and density of matter that causes Telosian bodies to function differently than ours. Due to their higher vibrations, lower density of matter, and different structure, their bodies do not need such dense food. At the same time, they process food more effectively and with no waste. But let's go back to the aforementioned levels of this remarkable underground city. The first of them is on top, and the others go down below it. The first level is said to be where the majority of residents live and where the administrative institutions are located. On the second level, there are also dwellings as well as schools and protection facilities. The third floor consists of hydroponic gardens. The fourth floor consists of other production facilities and partly greenery. The fifth floor is covered by a huge living forest full of diverse flora and fauna. Some of the species there once lived on the surface of the earth, and some have never been on it. Animals in Telos are not used as food. After exploring the first 4 floors, they made their way back to the first floor when the round building from the beginning of this story was located. It was created from fine crystal panels built into a round shape. Lowell and Alex stood before the front door, which had panels with strange symbols on the sides. They looked like some light codes. When they entered, they found themselves in a hall with a large round table with 13 chairs around it. The table was the only wooden object in the room, but it had crystals embedded in it. The entire hall was made of crystal, including the walls and the floor. A strong, palpable energy, which was affecting mainly the heart area, resonated there. It was the meeting space of the Council of 13, and it was amazing that their important decisions were made in such a strong, heart-tuned atmosphere. While Lowell was letting this energy settle into his body, 5 people entered the room. 4 of them were women, also about 2.5 meters tall, and 1 man. It was the high priest Adama, who was about 30 centimeters taller than them. His appearance was more perfect than all the fancy pictures of him. He had beautiful fair hair, a noble face, and a dignified posture. They invited Lowell to sit at the table with them. After they were seated, each of them introduced themselves. They were talking about preparing for a great change in consciousness on this planet, about an evolutionary shift that will affect all living things in this space. Earth is moving into a new phase of her evolution, and during this important transitional period, her realms are interconnecting. Therefore, the underground civilization of Telos wants to get in closer contact with people on the surface. Lowell was asked to be their ambassador and to facilitate this connection. Although he was genuinely amazed the whole time and agreed to their proposal, one of the things that crossed his mind was, why him? One of the women explained to him that there were 3 main reasons for this. The first one is that he can maintain their vibrational level. Actually, that made it possible for him to enter their world at all. The second was that they knew him to be the protector of the earth. And the third one was that he agreed at this time when his help and sharing of his knowledge of Telos with the people on the surface is needed. After they finished talking, he and Alex went out and back to the transporting platform. He asked Alex 2 questions as they were about to say goodbye in front of the entrance to the lava tunnel. Lowell didn't talk much during his visit, as he was in constant awe and adapting to the powerful new energies. However, he wondered if he would ever return to Telos. Alex told him that he would be back before the transition, but he did not specify the exact time. The second question was whether he could tell anyone about what he had seen and experienced. Alex encouraged him to do so. Their civilization is interested in people knowing about them and gradually developing their connection. Getting directly into the city is not easy for everyone, and they have control under the entrances, so there is no need to worry about anyone bothering them. They bid their farewells. Lowell left and headed back to his car. Here ends Lowell's first encounter with the underground civilization of the city of Telos. Some listeners will naturally wonder if his experience is really true, if he didn't consume some psychoactive substances before, or if he didn't fall asleep in a forest and it wasn't all just a dream. However, he insists that he was fully conscious. To people who find his story too fantastical, he advises advancing their education about the multidimensional nature of the reality we live in. Different vibrational levels open up different possibilities. This explains a vast number of mysterious phenomena when one person sees and experiences what another cannot see or understand. According to Lowell, the inhabitants of Telos live in a reality which differs from ours on physical and spiritual level. It is another evolutionary stage in which they perceive the interconnectedness of everything as one living unity. However, at the same time, they are still in a physical form, in which it is, for example, much easier to manifest their intentions. At this level, matter is lighter, more flexible, and the consciousness acting on it has a much stronger influence. The reason for this is that they have a higher level of their development and greater understanding of the laws of this reality. The functioning of their society is very different from ours. They live in unity, where everyone is naturally provided with everything they need to live and to fulfill their mission. At the end of this episode, we leave you with a message from Lowell, who, without even knowing how, managed to find and enter a crystal city that many only dream of. His advice for anyone tempted to explore these mysteries is this: raise your vibration and watch what shows up around you. Here ends our first episode of the Kingdoms of the Underground. We believe that it inspired both your imagination and your knowledge, and we are already looking forward to the next one. If you want to support our creative work, you can find the link in the description. Thank you for your donations, and we wish your mind beautifully opened for all the mysteries of this magical world.